Cahaya Rancamaya Islamic Boarding School.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to Camel Cahaya Rancamaya English lesson. Guys, if you still remember, in the first video we have discussed about sum and any. But how about today? Okay, as my promise, I will continue my discussion with the rest of the quantifiers. So it means we will have this one. We'll have a lot of, many, much, a little, a few. Okay, again, we'll begin with a few sentences and you have to decide which one are correct or which are wrong sentences. We will have this sentence. Okay, for example, like if you see this picture, we will have a lot of people ride motorcycles in Jakarta. Wow, that's a lot of money. Unfortunately, not much students join the class. Okay, haven't they sold many furniture? When I was young, I only had a little toys. What a pity. I visited a few places on my last holiday. So as usual, I'll give you a minute to decide which sentence are correct and which sentence are wrong. Okay, done? Have you finished? Now, let's check this out. Okay, we'll have haven't they sold many furniture is a wrong sentence. Then, in the first sentence, we got it correct. A lot of people ride motorcycles in Jakarta. So that's with the second sentence. That's a lot of money. But for the third sentence, it is wrong sentence. And continue with the last sentence is correct sentence. Okay, and the fifth sentence is wrong. So we got 3 sentences are correct and 3 sentences are wrong. But then the question is why and how. Okay, why do we use many, or when do we use many, or how do we use many in a sentence? Okay, to answer this question, let me move to the next slide. Okay, first I want to divide into 2 groups of quantifiers. The first one, we will have this group consists of a lot of, many, and much. And how about the second group? Okay, we will have the rest of the quantifiers, so it means it consists of a few and a little. But why do we have to separate, or why do we have to divide into 2 groups? Because the first one, if you can see, a lot of, many, and much used to describe a large amount of something, while in a few or a little, we use it to describe a small amount of something. Okay, for example, in this picture, you can see, wow, there's a lot of people there in the event. Okay, or I have so many apples in the fridge. But now, how about a few or a little? Okay. Only have 5,000 left in my pocket. It means I have a little money left in my pocket, so I couldn't afford the newest smartphone. Okay, we move to the next example. A few. Okay, a few, maybe we can say that I don't really like reading books. So then I only have a few books in my bookshelf. Okay, pay attention on how I make the sentences. Okay, this is the further explanation about how do we use a lot of, many, much, or few and little. Okay, first I'm going to explain you about the first group. So that's mean we have quantifiers used to describe large amount of something. Okay, let me begin with this one. A lot of. We can use for both countable and uncountable nouns. For affirmative, negative, and question sentence. So yeah, as usual, we have 3 types of sentences. Positive or affirmative sentence, the second one is negative sentence, and the third one is question or interrogative sentence. So for a lot of, we can use both for countable and uncountable nouns. For example, in the sentence, a lot of people ride motorcycle in Jakarta. People is countable noun, so that's why we can use a lot of. So just with money, because it says that a lot of can be used in all situations. Okay, money is uncountable. Yeah, but since we can use a lot of in all situations, so that means we can use in the sentence also. That's a lot of money. Then continue with many. Many used for countable nouns only. Remember, countable nouns. And usually negatives and question sentence. But sir, how about positive sentence? How about many in a positive sentence? Yeah, we can say many in a positive sentence, but not often. So many doesn't appear often in positive sentence. Okay, so we have this sentence. Haven't they sold many furniture? Okay, why do I put different colors in the sentence for furniture? Because furniture is not countable nouns. It is uncountable nouns. So that's why we have to replace with another word, just like tickets. Okay? And then I add one more sentence. I'm an introvert person. I don't have many friends. Remember, friends is countable nouns. It's plural form of friend. So if you want to say you have more than one friend, or you have two friends or more, you can count that, right? So that's why friends is countable nouns. Okay, you don't have many friends. And next we have much. Much used for uncountable nouns, usually for negative and question sentence. But for much we can't use. Okay, we can't use it for positive sentence. Remember. For example, unfortunately, not much students join the class because students, is countable nouns. So that's why we can't use much with students. Okay, so that's why we have to replace, just like we had before. Okay, we have to replace this word with space. Okay, because space is uncountable noun. Okay, so here's the explanation about large amount of something. Next, we move with the explanation about to describe quantifiers used to describe a small amount of something. The first one, we have a few. We use it for countable nouns, for affirmative and question sentence. For example, like I visited a few places on my last holiday. Okay, and then a little. We use it for uncountable nouns, for affirmative and question sentence. Remember, what makes it difference is when we use a few, we use it for countable nouns, but a little, okay, we use it for uncountable nouns. And here's the example. When I was young, I only had a little toys. Okay, again, we can see that I put different colors on toys, so that's why there must be something wrong in this sentence. Toys is countable noun, so we have to replace it with something uncountable, and here I put fun. Okay, we can replace with fun, the word toys with fun. When I was young, I only had a little fun, because we can't count exactly fun. Yeah, so remember, this is the differences. But now maybe you will ask, how about the positive sentence when we want to describe using a few or a little? Because a few and a little already express a negative idea. Of course, we can't use a few and a little in negative sentence, because it's already expressed a negative idea. Okay. Now, so far, based on this explanation, we can conclude that we have this conclusion that we use a lot of, many, and much for describing a large amount of something, while we use a few and a little to describe a small amount of something. Okay, but what you have to pay attention, that what makes them different is you use many and much in different situations. Okay, many for countable nouns, you use much in uncountable nouns, and a few you use it in countable nouns when you use a little in uncountable nouns. So that's why it's important to know countable or uncountable nouns. So that's why I want to share several tips to you. How do we can differentiate, or how do we can determine something is countable or uncountable? So the first one, countable nouns, usually has plural forms. For example, like student. So we just have to add s in the end of the word, s letter in the end of the word, so it becomes friends. To state that it's more than one number. Or student. Okay, we just have to add s in the end of the the end of the word to indicate that it changes into plural form, so it becomes students. Okay, and how about uncountable nouns? So uncountable nouns is actually easy to indicate how by, for example, like you have a sentence like I have much water. Okay, I have much water. Now you may have different perspective with your friend. For me, much water it's enough for 2 glasses. But how about your friends? Maybe he needs a ton of water to say that something, or I have much water. Okay, so it means that something that maybe has different perspective about when something has no plural form, so we can consider that the thing is uncountable noun. Okay, I hope that it will help you to understand about quantifiers. But if you still have questions or confused regarding about this topic, okay, don't be doubt to write down your questions below. I'll try my best to explain to you. Okay, thank you. See you in the next video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.